Good morning. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We are happy that you have chosen this YouTube channel, this Sabbath, and this sanctuary in real time. You chose to be here, especially on this Labor Day Sunday, and that we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to our visitors and anyone who may be watching our service for the first time online. And now I invite everyone here in this room to greet one another, and if you're joining us online, please say hi in the chat. Thank you, and now for a few announcements.
Good morning. On this Labor Day weekend, we are called to think of how we relate to our work, to our own, and to that of others. We remember the history of Labor Day, born out of the human need for rest and play. This is the 135th year that this extra day off has been afforded to the people, but of course many people do not get tomorrow off, those essential workers, as many were dubbed during the pandemic quarantine. So today I want to draw your attention to the people who awake every day of the year to care for the plants and animals that keep the rest of us fed. And to celebrate that we have farmers in our midst, actually. And that right now, there is an orchard behind me on the back lot of our property at this church, and there are fruit trees that are laden with fruit, delicious and ripe, that are the result of people toiling through those hot summer days to make sure that those pears have water. Now here is one of the pears. They are delicious. They are very good with cheddar. After the service today, you may follow Melissa Job out to the orchard, whose husband Chip will be there to show you the orchard and to help you help out our trees, which are drooping with this delicious fruit. Thank you, and now we will have a short announcement from Jenny Ashby.
Thank you. Old age creeping on, at least in my knees. I wanted to let you know about a wonderful new opportunity for us to get together once a month and to get together with All Souls. We have long enjoyed doing a very few things with them, but they asked us to join in their Dinner for 8 program, and I hope that many of you can join. It's a wonderful way to expand the relationship of our liberal communities, and also to get to know each other if a good number of us join. It's going to be every third Saturday starting in October. We'll be off for Christmas, for December. And All Souls arranges for people to get together. If you join, you're joining for the whole program. And as I say, it'll be in the evening of every Thursday on those 8 months. And you will need to be a host once a year or twice a year if you're a couple. You have to sign up in advance for everything, but if you know you're going to be gone for a month, for example, going to Mexico for a week or something fun, let me know in advance and we can make sure you're not put down as a host for that week. But you can sign up on Realm. If you have problems with Realm, talk to Jim Christ. And I'll be sitting on a table out there right after church to answer any other questions.
The first one is for our middle and high school youth. You are invited to engage in a world religions course on Sunday mornings beginning September 17th. Our youth leader, Kevin Roberts, will introduce students to neighboring faith traditions and provide field trips to visit institutions in the KC Metro. This course is designed to help our youth become better grounded in their beliefs and UU identity. This course will meet throughout the 23-24 church year, so reach out to Kevin if you have any questions. Also, we have a new Wednesday evening adult RE course called Parable of the Sower. This course will examine Octavia Butler's 1993 science fiction novel by the same name and religion as a tool to transform how we understand and treat the earth and each other. We will also engage in works by Black, Brown, and Indigenous writers who invite us to use our imaginations and our knowledge and skills to create a new world for radical possibilities. This will be more than a book discussion. We will also learn some new skills. We will start meeting Wednesday evenings, September 13th through October 18th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. You can register online. And lastly, you are invited to our first Wednesday dinner on September 13th. We highly encourage you to sign up in Realm to ensure we prepare enough food. There is also a flyer on the welcome desk with instructions on how to do this. Thank you.
Our opening words come from the Bread and Roses labor strike of 1912, which reminds us that hearts starve as well as bodies. It is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. Come, let us worship. Please rise as you are willing and able for hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
As Cleo comes forward to light our chalice, I invite all of us to join in reciting our covenant. Let us affirm that love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Each month, we as a community take time to reflect on a theme. The children do this in their classes, and we do it here in worship and in our small groups. This month, the theme is the gift of welcome. "25 years ago, Joyce and I moved to a small town in northwest Oklahoma to serve a United Methodist church, not of our denomination. We were welcomed with open arms, and I experienced one of my happiest times in ministry. While there, a liberal-leaning Sunday school class experienced significant numerical and spiritual growth that became more and more liberal and progressive as time went on. Many attended a series of lectures by Marcus Borg at All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in Tulsa, and lectures by John Spong and other leading theologians throughout the country, traveling to the coasts, besides reading numerous books. A group of men in that class formed a small group of 6 or 7 for sharing, support, and camaraderie that met weekly. After 20 years, remnants of that group are still meeting by Zoom, because Young and I left to come here, and no longer live in Oklahoma. As you might assume, word got out in the congregation about our small men's group. While I was making a pastoral call one day, a woman asked if her husband could join the group. I knew something about small groups and group dynamics, and I knew that adding a new person would change the dynamics of a group, especially one that had built up a high trust level over many months of meeting. I knew the spiritual, theological journey we had taken together had not been shared by this individual. I replied that I would work to form a new group if he were interested, but not our group. Another group never materialized. Our group was not welcoming. I have agonized over that decision ever since. I rationalized that the group would not have been a good fit for him, that he would not have benefited from the group. Also, the group might have lost its meaning and dissolved. Welcome is considered by our UU faith tradition to be a gift, because learning to love in a group that is ethnically, racially, and even philosophically diverse can open one to a deeper, more profound, even spiritual experience of love, an experience not readily available in a homogeneous group. Who knows? If we had risked giving that man a chance to love us, he just might have. And we him. through that love for each other, across our differences, we might even have ended up knowing a deeper love, not only for each other, but also for ourselves. Send me a higher love, says the song. Yes, is the answer, through the gift of welcome.
All right, at this time, I'd like to invite all the children to come forward for Time for All Ages. Welcome. All right, raise your hand if you have a bedtime routine. Yeah, kind of. A bedtime routine is something you do every night before falling asleep. Maybe you have some activities that you do. Can anyone name one thing they do before going to bed every night? Cleo? Cleo washes her face. That's wonderful. I do too. What's something else? Cheer on Tuesdays. I bet you're really tired after cheer. Yeah. Doing something physical is also a really great way to prepare yourself for rest. Rose, what is something that you do in your bedtime routine?
I brush my teeth, I read, I put on pajamas, I lay down, shut my eyes.
Yeah. I brought a few things with me that are a part of our bedtime routine at home. One of them is this night light. We call him Toasty. And you can set a timer on them because we like to have talk time. And we make sure that talk time has an end so that we fall asleep. Also, stuffies are great. Would anyone like to hold one? You want one? Yeah, we got, who wants SpongeBob? Yeah. And then books as well, just like Rose said. Did you know that having a bedtime routine has been shown to help you get restful sleep? Does anyone know why having a bedtime routine might help you fall asleep? Well, it's been shown that when we have things that we do every night, like put on your pajamas, brush your teeth, read a book, that your body learns that it's about to go to sleep. And those activities start to actually ease your body into a restful state. What do you think would happen if you went to bed with all your clothes on and your shoes? Do you think you would get some restful sleep? No, you'd probably wake up in the middle of the night and be like, what the heck, and kick them off, and then you'd have to fall back asleep, and that wouldn't be any good. Yeah, you got to take your shoes off for sure. Today's service is all about how it takes time to prepare yourself for rest. The things you do before resting are just as important. There's a story I want to tell you about how my family learned to take time to prepare for rest. You all started school recently, right? Who was tired after your first week? Yeah. I went to school for 24 years, and near the end, I was exhausted. But one Friday evening, my friend Blair invited me over to a weekly dinner. My friend Blair is Jewish, and each week her family creates a time for rest called the Sabbath. It begins Friday evening at sunset, And I looked forward to this dinner that they prepared every Friday because it was an evening full of friends, food, and singing. And it was a wonderful time for me to stop thinking about school, relax, and focus on the ones that I loved. My family eventually moved away, but we continued this weekly celebration on our own. But it wasn't until we were in charge of the Sabbath meal that I realized how important preparing for the Sabbath is, and that it is in the preparation for rest that it really helps me experience the rest that I long for. Just like a bedtime, the things you do before bedtime prepares you to actually fall asleep. So to prepare for our weekly Sabbath meal, my husband picks up a loaf of bread from a local bakery. He picks up pasta and vegetables from a market, and he makes the same meal every week. And then when I get home, I set the table with my favorite linen, I wrap the bread in cloth, and I get out the Shabbat candles, and I get all the table ready. And what these steps do is all these steps after I get home from work help ease me into that restful state so that when it's actually time for the Sabbath meal, I can focus on my family and the wonderful meal, and I feel ready for rest. Even our cat likes to be present for these meals. Does anyone have an animal that likes to join you for dinner? Yeah. All right, so what is something you all can do tonight to prepare yourself to have a restful night's sleep? Maybe something you could add to your bedtime routine. All right, I have a few ideas that could help. If you're you don't have school tomorrow, so lucky you. But to get ready for school especially, you could take a warm bath, read a book with your family, make sure you put those PJs on, take your shoes off, brush your teeth, and maybe even sing a song. And I think you'll find that if you do that every night, you'll have more restful sleep. All right, thank you. The children, you can join me now in going to the maker space.
We come to this place to see and be seen, to teach and be taught, to hear and be heard. I invite you to reach over and nudge the person sitting next to you, reminding each other that we are here together, gathered in peace and authenticity and intention. We also come to this place to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share, I invite you to come forward and light a candle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Naya, and some of you know that my wife and I inherited some children back in December, and it's been a 8-9 month process, but we finally got guardianship of our 12-year-old, so we're pretty excited about that.
I don't know if I can. I have a joy and a sorrow mixed in one today. I'm very excited about the new singing adventures I get to go do. I'm very also sad that this is my last Sunday with you all. And I just want to say thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the time I've had with you, and I've really enjoyed getting to make music with you all, and excited for all the music you're going to make this year.
I'm lighting a candle in celebration for the life of and sorrow for the loss of Claudine Thomas, who died about 8 days ago. She was a longtime UU activist in our area, and she was someone who exemplified yes and welcome. She was a member of All Souls down on the plaza. Greg and I had gotten to know her when we traveled to our Unitarian sister church with her in 1991, and we came to love her as our whole community did. Last year, she attended our picnic here, so some of you may have chatted with her there at that time. She will be missed, and her memorial will be this coming Wednesday in Bragg Auditorium at All Souls at 3 p.m.
I'm lighting this candle for Dwayne Brunkow. That's Amanda's grandfather. They're up there with him right now with the rest of his family, and it's looking like it's his time, and just wanted to light a candle for him.
Good morning, I'm Jim Christ, and today is my little brother's 65th birthday. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that.
Hello, I'm Brian Nelson, longtime member of SMUUCh, and I have a candle recognition that we've been recognized by the Pitch magazine as the top 6 congregations to worship in the KC metro area. I read that posting this morning on the SMUUCh Facebook page, and also in the Pitch page also. You get the vote on the top 6. Congratulations, SMUUCh.
I wanted to light a candle for all the dads. My dad has come and stayed with my wife and I as we have a little baby, and I feel like he is still parenting me, and it's so beautiful. I light all the remaining candles for the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. please join me for a moment of silence with spoken word. I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor. You can put your hands in your lap. You can put palms upward if you're needing to receive. You can put palms downward if you need a more internal space. Today I invite us into simply a moment of rest and silence. I invite you to notice where in your body is tense. And as you breathe, breathe into that space. Enjoying this moment where nothing is asked of you. Letting the corners of your lips turn up, remembering that our enjoyment of this life is a form of worship itself. And now I invite you to imagine what you need to invite in. What is it that you need more of in your life? What is it that you could use? I invite you to think big. And I open this space for your own private prayer, well wishes, loving kindness meditation towards someone who's suffering. Or maybe you just want to watch your breath and relax. Take a moment to close your prayer or your thought, blessing it be, saying amen. And now as we move towards our meditative hymn, I invite us to do a short meditation. Saying to ourselves, when I breathe in peace. And when I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. I breathe in rest. I breathe in melting. When I breathe out warmth. I breathe out compassion. I breathe out love.
Our reading for today is adapted from poet Nikki Giovanni, who says, "Sometimes the window is open, and a breeze comes through singing a sweet song. It is nap time. Grandmother sits on the front porch. Grandpa cuts the grass. It is a song. You nap, I nap. Awe hugs us. A book settles beside us. Rest is resistance. It is a war we will win."
Once a week, the shaking Quakers would gather to meet all up and down the eastern coast every Sunday morning. The Shakers were in active religion for centuries, and although only 2 Shakers remain now living in Sabbath day Maine, their imprint on the landscape of religion in the U.S. lingers. Like the Quakers, they valued what they called the stillness and the light in each of us. And that meant that their services began in silence. From that quiet place, something amazing would happen. An individual might break forth in song, in a physical expression, in an ecstatic dance, as the people began to shake and quake. Now, this is how the Shakers developed their music. For some of their tunes would eventually become canon, sung again and again as the years wore on. In fact, the hymns we've chosen today are Shaker tunes that came forth and were worked on as a group over time, as they came to love the simple messages that still enlighten us today. Both the Shakers and the Quakers are our cousins, in that light that is in each of us is reflected in what we call the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And similarly, we do not rely on an authority to grant us access to grace or to spirituality. And like many, many people do in our culture, we gather here each week to exist for a time, to enjoy what can happen together on a Sunday morning during our agreed upon hour of Sabbath. For this is a time each Sunday morning that we see each other with a more compassionate eye. When we give ourselves permission to tune in for a moment to the yearnings and the sorrows of our hearts, and to become more open to the wonder of this world. To remember that our lives are not just turning like cogs in a machine, but can slow down and stop for a minute. Today on Labor Day, we reflect on how to relate to our labor through that lens of wonder and awe. And we remember that another part of the Shaker legacy was the beautiful conversation between their work and their rest. Their labor was the creation of simple, beautifully crafted wooden furniture renowned for its great devotion to form and function. But they were also inventors of many labor-saving devices. They invented the apple corer, the rolling pin, the flat-edged broom, and the clothespin. Therefore, they worked not only for the joy of working, but also for the joy of not working, for the joy of resting, of playing, of quaking and shaking, and making community and gathering together for their time out of time, which was their Sabbath. Now, the Shakers were also a separatist community, referring to everyone who was not a Shaker as simply from the world. Therefore, we are of the world, and therefore we do not spend our days blessedly sanding and finishing the perfect cabinetry. And therefore, our work conversation requires a different analysis. Walter Brueggemann wrote a book called The Sabbath as Resistance, Saying No to the Culture of Now. He reminds us that the celebration of Sabbath is both an act of resistance and it's an alternative. It is resistance because it is a visible insistence that our lives are not defined by the production and consumption of commodity goods. And he would not be the first one to identify that this hectic, consumptive spirit of our society is obsessed with that material wealth. Indeed, the golden calf, which was written about 1,000 years ago, is evidence of these principles alive in spiritual teaching, as are the Buddhist principles of non-attachment that encourage us to relocate our center of gravity into the present moment rather than in the things that surround us. Brueggemann breaks it down for us, explaining that first, the culture of now gets its hooks in us through anxiety, giving us that feeling that we're not enough. And then through coercion, through the slow creep of it all. Thirdly, we are hooked into a culture of exclusion, into the haves and the have-nots. And lastly, we suffer under an ever-increasing pressure to multitask, the more of it all. Rabbi Abraham Heschel reminds us that 6 days a week we wrestle with that world, wringing profit from the earth. But on the Sabbath, we especially care for the seed of eternity that is planted in the soul. That the Sabbath is not for the sake of the weekdays. Rather, the weekdays are for the sake of the Sabbath. Like those labor-saving devices which were made to save time for the Sabbath. That labor is a craft, but perfect rest is an art, the result of an accord of body, mind, and imagination. And so we keep a Sabbath of sorts here in space and time to pursue for ourselves something deeper and more meaningful than the material things of this world. To remember that we are first human, we are first hearts and souls who don't just need bread, but roses too, but music and connection and pear trees that are drooping with fruits in the morning light after church. We keep our Sabbath here in this room that has been christened for decades by humans, by elementary school kids eating, by music that's been played, in this building where shelter is taken on cold nights, where friends reunite, where decisions have been made. But Heschel says something about the Sabbath that I think is really interesting. he reminds us that the Sabbath is not a place, but rather a time. He says that everywhere the desecration of shrines is considered a sacrilege. But what about the desecration of time? For in Judaism, the Sabbath is not tied to a place, it is only tied to time, when sundown hits. For he says that time is the heart of our existence, and that when we have those moments of deep wonder and awe, we are sensing the grandeur of what is eternal in time. That it's not this room that makes this sacred so much as the time that we have made to be here. It is from within the present moment and from within time that, say, a song erupts from someone so simple and beautiful that it would be carried through the generations and across many lands. Thus, as we consider how to create a healthy tension between our work and our spiritual lives, we might do well to ask ourselves how we are spending our time first. And if perhaps rather than, say, rushing to get to the woods, where we are harried and running, how we might instead focus on the quality of time we take to get there. Like Jen mentioned about preparing for bedtime is just as important as the rest. Heschel's daughter wrote a beautiful introduction to his book, Sabbath, about the preparation for Sabbath, how excited and interested and peaceful she became even before the Sabbath started. So I invite you today to think about how you spend the rest of your day here at church. To let yourself linger in some way here. Don't worry, I'd never tell you to come early, but I do wonder if spending some time after church just to enjoy the space and enjoy what it feels like to be in a space where you are not being demanded of on your time. Let this be a time when you remember that the light is within you. Let this be a space of resistance to the culture of now that is waiting for you right outside those doors. Let this be a place where you step away from the anxiety of wondering whether or not you're enough, where you step away from the exclusion of others, when you let go of the more, and make time, take the time for something else. Let us take our time. For the rest of our designated hour of wonder that we have here today, your afternoon activities, I invite you to at least leave slowly, entering back into the world slowly and with tenderness for our souls. For in the words of Heschel, he invites us to act not as though we long for the day of rest, but that the Sabbath's spirit is lonely and longs for us. May your day today be savored, and may you enjoy this life, this precious time you and we have here. To everything there will be a season, and it will pass us by, as each and every moment will too.
The work of the church depends upon us. Our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you.
This week, I invite you to take some time to make some time to rest, to play, to express yourself. Go in peace.